All right, so I said we were going to do a little segue. I'm going to bring some special guests up. Jim, are you still hiding in here anywhere? Yep. And Kira and Victoria, I'm going to grab you two. If you kind of come up here, I even brought a mic we can share around. Somebody can grab the podium. So there's a reason for this, and Shane knows where I'm going with it, and I think Gary does already. So Kira is engineering manager, transmitter, I forget your title. Chief Engineer Transmissions for Vermont Public. Okay. Jim is operations manager for St. Cloud State University. He's an engineer and a manager. Victoria is all manager, and she just loves engineers. So the reason for bringing these three up here was I wanted to have a little conversation, and this is something that we as an industry, and Rich is right front and center, so we know who's going to ask the hard questions. Engineers as a whole talk nuts, bolts, ohms, amps really well. What they don't do is talk dollars, cents, ROI, cost of ownership, cost of acquisition. And that's why I kind of wanted to, and Kira had a good point early when I kind of, so this is not rehearsed. They didn't get any advance invitations. They found out about this roughly last break. And I said, none of you look shy. So I handed this to Kira first because Kira made one really good point about the things that engineers don't do that we should do. Jim, you want to move over there?
So one of the initiatives that I've tried for the last several years at my station has been to open up my broadcast sites for employees to visit. So, and this was in conjunction with HR last year, so we essentially organized a employee field trip, essentially, to a transmitter site. And I try to pick a transmitter site that's not the fanciest transmitter site we own.
Make them go mud.
Well, and the reason for this is because a lot of times the transmitter sites are completely opaque to our employees, to our fellow people who work at the radio station, TV station. And they really don't know what it takes to get it on the air because to them, all of their workflow includes their computer, it includes their studio, their boards, their desks. They don't see the transmitter sites, they don't see the mud, they don't see the windows that are covered in filth, they don't see a lot of that stuff that we see every day because that is our office, that is our outside. So, and I won't say that I've had a lot of buy-in at the studios. I haven't had a lot of people come out to them, but I can tell you that when I'm not in the room, when there are meetings where I am not in the room, I have had a lot more people ask questions like, well, you know, if we move the building here, where are you going to park the trailer that has the ATV in it that, you know, Kira needs to use to get out to the transmitter site? I've heard some folks talk about that and tell me that they've been in meetings and they've mentioned things like that, and that's super important. Another initiative I've had is I've encouraged my team to actually go to staff meetings. We have a lot more open-ended Zoom staff meetings, and if my transmitter engineers don't go to those staff meetings, they don't hear about things that the other staff are talking about, and they don't have any way to inform other staff members that, hey, something's going on and maybe you need to know about this.
Yeah, and it's kind of a two-way street because it's partly bringing engineering into the management team, but you're also getting the feedback about the stuff that is of concern to them that you can address. So that's a really cool thing. Victoria, I'm going to grab the mic. So from the management side of it, how do you deal with these nasty old engineers that just keep coming and wanting to spend your budget?
Well, there's something I learned, and I'm still learning it, which is simplify your explanation as to why whatever it is important and how, this is the best part, how it affects them. If you can do that, and one of the reasons I love engineers is because you're brilliant. Your mind lights up like a map when you think about something. But when you explain it to someone who doesn't understand that, they hear Charlie Brown's mother. So the important thing is this is a Vermont thing, sugar it down. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is, and whoever you're speaking to, think of how does this impact them? You'll get so much further.
So my wife is from Wisconsin. She is not Vermont nice. And she'll go like this and go, explain it to me like I'm 3 because I don't know what you just said. So that sort of thing.
One other quick thing is have patience to understand that while you know how critical this is to your operation, whoever you're speaking to has a priority list that might be crushing them as well. So as a manager, I try to practice listening, but I also will ask, you know, the team of smart people who keep everything going to simplify it and help explain to the people it impacts why it's important to them. You will make more money if. Your life will be easier if.
We will spend less time
We will
off
spend
air
less time.
if.
Exactly. So I'm still learning this trick, how to simplify things, because it is complicated, but people usually don't have time to hear why. So that's the best management trick for someone like you, who's like a transmission in a car. Who cares about it until it doesn't shift, right?
Okay, and Jim, you've worked both sides of the fence.
Yeah, I'm an engineer that actually has the button to spend money. That's cool.
That may be the most dangerous thing on the planet right there.
And frankly, it's how I get away with some of the stuff that I do because I get to sign off on the budgets. So, no, there's a couple things I'll recommend on this. First of all, prepare what you're going to say before you go into this meeting. I never present a problem unless I already have a potential solution to take care of it. So do your work, do the due diligence, do the research, and instead of being the person that they're disappointed to see every time they're like, this thing's broken and we need to spend money, it is, this thing is broken, here's how we're going to fix this, here's how much it's going to cost, and here's going to be the end result after we're done. And that last piece is probably going to be what seals the deal. You don't understand this, but you are a salesperson for your function inside of that organization. So this studio system or this transmitter is on its way out. We need to increase our uptime and make sure that we're on the air making money. And at the end of the day, do you know that we're going to be this much more efficient in our electrical bill? Do you know that we're going to save some money after the fact? So the reason that we're doing it is because there's a problem today, but there's the advantage of getting rid of that problem and an advantage that goes above and beyond what we even have right now. But make that plan. Do your due diligence to make that plan before you sit in on that meeting.
So I don't need that. I'm wired. I've got this. So I did this session yesterday with the NS as a group joint session, and Cindy Cavell also made a point that really resonated with me. Give choices. So here's the problem, here's the solution, or we can do this, which will get the job done, but probably not for long, or we can do this middle thing, which will get the job done pretty well. We might lose some of the bling, but we'll be good to go, and it'll cost you 15% less.
So I'm going to raise you one on that.
I see you and raise. Here we go.
I worked sales. I was a sales manager for a while too. Yes, give choices. This is the minimum that it's going to take to get us back on the air. We have to do at least this much. Or we can do this to get some very basic improvements, but it's going to get us back on the air. Or we can be forward-looking and take this route. 90% of the time, they're going to pick the middle one. Just that's human nature. That's absolute sales technique. Mm-hmm. I had one other point to that too. What the heck was it? It'll come back to me eventually. All right.
See now, and the cool thing about this, so I've got the guy with the unlimited budget and his finger on the go button. I've got the manager who's like, we're not spending any money on anything unless smoke's coming out. And then Kira, whose job is to try to balance the two positions.
I have a technique where I like to, if we're going to be doing a CAP project, I like to put things that will also be helpful to the entire site in the CAP project. Don't tell my boss, he's sitting over there.
So what happens when we give them the microphone seat?
I know, but it actually kind of helps because, for example, if I'm upgrading we have a lot of frequencies, but I'm upgrading a frequency at a site that has a shared cost of other frequencies at that site. Does that CAP project have enough room that we can put some more equipment upgrades in there so that we can improve other things at that site at the same time? Perfect. Can you buy the same UPS to install at multiple locations? The same UPS and ATS PDU update at that same location, so all of your sites have the same equipment at it, so it makes sense. There are ways that you can make your job a little easier so that your budget manager, when they look at you, they go, oh, okay, I get it. That's one of those things that you had for this site. It's over there, et cetera.
Well, and it's also one of those, I mean, you could find some places where you may buy 5 UPSs and get a 10% discount. So your unit price goes down, and that way you upgrade the server room 3 times, transmitter site, whatever.
Yeah,
So,
the
cool.
more uniform, especially because we have so many sites, and not all of them are going to be the same, but the more uniformity we've been able to establish at a lot of these sites also makes it easier for somebody to walk in and understand the site from the get-go. So it doesn't take them a long time to figure out where the signal path goes. They already know, well, I've seen this at this site before, and I've seen this at this site before, so I can kind of get this in 10 minutes or less, and they can go to working on the project instead, so.
Yeah. Victoria, thoughts? A little bit closing thoughts. Any questions? We can handle 1 or 2 after Victoria's done, but lunch is, I can smell it and I'm hungry.
You're thought of as magicians, and sometimes that means you need to explain why you're not actually a magician and you need to do these things. And again, think about the listeners. How does this serve the listeners? How does that help, the development team, finance team make the job better? If you can form it that way, you'll get a lot further. It helps, because what you do is very important. But if you don't explain it slowly and clearly and without too much complexity, like I said, Charlie Brown's mother or teacher, whoever that was.
All right.
All the adults.
Jim,
I just got back to my
There we go.
other point here. I don't oversell it. I have a lot of times people are like, oh, we're going to need to do this one thing. This is my opportunity to sell this whole big thing that probably isn't necessary. You may think you're getting away with it, and you may in fact get away with it one time. But as soon as your requests start being seen as superfluous and unnecessary, they're going to shut you down and not take you seriously anymore. So be real with what you're asking for.
And I'll take that a step further. My boss is hiding in the back somewhere, so he'll be glad to know I was listening at one point or another. But when you put a request in and you get approval, stop selling. Okay? Once you've got the approval, shut up. It's time to start ordering stuff. Okay, I think it's Richard in the back. I see a hand waving. Yeah. Kyle, where's my runner? He ran. John, you're my runner. You're volunteered now. Hurry up. Come on. This is the only time I get to order him around. Back at the back, second row from the back, on your left, right on the edge.
I'm
Has the hand
dyslexic.
waving. Your other left. Oh, here we go.
Basically wanted to remind Jeff to have everybody turn their forms in.
There you go. Did you pay him to do that?
No?
He's going to get a free lunch, though.
Yeah, there you go. All right, moving up. I see Rick's hand up. Was that an uh-oh?
No, your name is out of it. Frank's is in this one. First of all, I want to commend Nautel on the quality of transmitters. We had our idiot partners in our shed turn the air conditioner off in the middle of winter, and it was 140 degrees. Everything burnt out except for the Nautel transmitter.
So,
Shut down, yep.
so Jim will tell you that his site is the poster child for the worst air handling on the planet.
Yes.
They have had their exchange air forced on at sub 30 degrees.
Yeah.
And that's where we discovered if you take the transmitter down below 32, which is 0 Fahrenheit, it didn't do negative numbers.
No.
But he's also had the vents closed, and I
Right.
think he got high enough that it melted the bezel on the front of the
Oh my
transmitter.
God. The other thing is, Frank can tell you this too, we threatened to use this. We actually did it once. We did hours of dog barking on 29 Palms to get the attention of people. So if your manager is not listening to you, put an hour of dog barking on with the top of the hour ID. I guarantee you they will call you immediately.
Somebody will notice eventually, yeah. All right, we're at quarter after. I don't want to take any more time. Okay, Rich has got his hand up. We got to give Rich the mic just because he's Rich. So, you're the last one, though.
I just want to second the thing about the Nautel quality. I think it may have changed a little bit, but when I was at VPR, and oh my God, I'm so happy that Kira is taking over, where I left off 10 years ago. But I will say we had almost all NBs, I had NV40 up on the mountain, NV10s, NV5s. The thing that was like most wonderful is that I didn't need like every single power amp in the NV40 to make our ERP. So when an NV10 went down, I could pull it out, run down the mountain to another site and stick it in. I mean, so standardization is like a lifesaver.
Yeah, and that comes back to what Kira said. When you can do commonality, it does make your life a whole lot easier. All right, folks, if you got any more questions, comments, criticisms, concerns, definitely hunt one of us down. Like I said, we're wearing blue shirts. They have Nautel logos. We're pretty easy to spot. We've got AUI session this afternoon here,
Yes, back here at 1:15.
and then the HD radio session after that.
Yes, about an hour and 15 after that. 2:30, I believe, yes.
Something like that. So if you're able to stay around for those, awesome. If you can't, thanks very much for being here regardless, and we'll see you in the lunchroom.
And when you
Thanks very
leave,
much, folks. I really appreciate that.
So next time tell ASBE to stop holding your session right